One of the key themes of our Easter season is how the early disciples, the early church, the followers of Jesus lived after their experience of Jesus risen from the dead. Kind of an interesting collection of ways that they encountered him, and now we hear how his message was passed on after he had ascended, even though we're still waiting for that in our liturgical year, and how when they preached, we're hearing about the time of after Stephen and Barnabas and his encounter with Paul. So it's important, I think, for us to continue to be affirmed in the fact that we don't and aren't converted by a thought or just a message that we might hear, but that this message that's proclaimed turns us to a person. That's what it says in the first reading. After they heard Barnabas preaching, they turned to the Lord. So they had this personal encounter, which I sense might help us to witness what's happening in the gospel in the way that Jesus had proclaimed before the death and resurrection and ascension, about how they are in his hand and that they're never going to leave his hand. The Father is even greater with that power, greater than all, and no one can take them out of the Father's hand. So we've heard a lot about Jesus and his resurrected appearance and the need for us to continue to grow, to see that was a physical, bodily expression, and how that continued to be a physical, bodily expression after Jesus ascended in people like Barnabas and Paul, that people were encountering real-life examples of what the risen life of Jesus did. And that was people so focused on Jesus Christ that they didn't really care what else happened to them in proclaiming the message, even though it might have threatened their own very lives. They took that in some ways, oddly, as a sign that they were being effective, just like Jesus. So this is, I think, a really great thing, and we have to begin to sense something I mentioned at another homily, is what happens when we realize that we're in God's hands, that we can trust that in a way that then helps the message to grow, and that this isn't just, again, words or a word about something, but a word about a person that then wants to nourish us by the word of the God and the sacraments of the church, but they themselves are leading us to that encounter with the person, Jesus, the Lord. So we have that witness from our the early disciples and those who continue to build the church, and it reaches out now today to us to see that that's the same invitation, that we are meant to place our gifts now in God's hands, so that then we can trust that, as limited as they might be, we can be an expression of that, a real life, bodily expression of Jesus in a way that then affects other people. How else would it be passed on to those that we love, or to those that we witness to, or those we might challenge when we see them going down the wrong way? I love you enough that I'm willing to allow you to be furious at me because I see you heading down the wrong path. I want you to turn to Jesus and to be healed. That's an opportunity that we might have in our lives, or just by being here, by being present with each other, we might witness in a way that we have no idea. So we have that really call to not forget this and to trust Jesus, take him at his word, that we might grow to recognize our dignity, our worth in the eyes of God, no matter what we might feel about ourselves, that this is the way God sees us. He's caring for us, but not just to protect us and nurture us, yes, but to send us, to help us proclaim that same message so that other people will have the same gift, be open to the same privilege, to savor that same love in a way that will let it keep growing, and as we proclaim it throughout and for the benefit of the world. So let's give it everything we've got.